What's up, folks, and welcome to Indie Ramble. Yes, I've got yet another shmup for you today. These just keep coming out lately, and I love it. So you guys keep putting them out, and I will keep covering them because this is a genre I absolutely love. This one's interesting because it comes to us from a small new publisher that's actually affiliated to a PR company who represents several games that I've covered on this channel before. So kind of a little bit of an interesting crossover there. And I have to admit, I didn't hear about this game or its universe beforehand, but and I first started it out thinking it was a little bit too casual for me, but it's kind of grown on me, actually. So this is Dogfight. As you can see, the title is very, ironic's not the word, but it's very fitting. And I have to admit, I'd never heard of Sausage Bomber before this, but it's actually a fairly popular mobile title that has fairly straightforward gameplay, and they've decided to take the sort of goofy mechanics and universe of that and turn it into a full-on shmup. But this is a shmup that does a few different things that I think are kind of cool that make it stand out a little bit, even though when you first start it up, you may look at it and think it's a little bit casual. So I've got 3 different saves here. I've been trying out all the different difficulty modes. The default difficulty on this is mild, which is pretty straightforward. Other than the last couple of levels, I pretty much never died. But the harder difficulties, particularly Atomic, where you can be killed in one shot, definitely amps things up. So if you want challenge in this, you definitely got it. The core campaign of this only took me about less than 90 minutes to beat. It is not a long game, but it's designed to be replayed multiple times over, and I'm going to show you how they work that into things. So it does support up to 4-player co-op, local only unfortunately, but on Steam, at least, you do have access to remote play, which can make that a little bit easier. There are 4 different characters you can play. These are all aesthetic. The characters don't have any mechanical or statistical differences between them. It's just how their planes look and how the pilots look. But it's kind of cool. You got some different options there. And the whole idea behind Sausage Bomber is that this is a world that is, well, everything is food-based in this. It's a cartoony universe, doesn't take itself super seriously. But as you can see by just looking at the names of these continents and levels and seeing some of the weapons that you have available, everything's basically about barbecues. And you know what? There's worse universes to live in. I don't mind this at all, actually. And it kind of makes for a cool and goofy premise. So it's basically, there's a bad guy trying to take over the world, you gotta stop him. There's nothing really too fancy about that. Now, the interesting thing about this is you're gonna see I have a number of weapons here and a number that aren't unlocked. So you have your sort of primary gun that you fire with, as well as your bomb. Now, in most shmups, bombs are limited number, right? And a lot of the time, if you use all your bombs up, you won't get as many points or things like that. That is not the case here. So the bombs are unlimited, and you can use them as much as you want, though they do fire a lot slower. And they're bombs in more the traditional sense. They're not like in J shmups. They're not screen clearing weapons. They're actual bombs that drop down and can be used to do additional damage. And you unlock these different guns by completing more stars on the levels. That's a bit of a mobile gaming mechanic that this has. And the stars and the unlocks carry over in between all your saves, which is what's nice. So if you choose to play again on different difficulties or in the inbuilt speedrun mode, which we'll talk about later, your unlocks are persistent, which is nice. You don't have to unlock anything more than once, which is kind of cool. So here we go. So yeah, as I said, this is a shmup that does not take itself seriously at all. It's very cartoony. I actually, initially when I saw the art style for this, I was like, yeah, okay, this looks like any other number of mobile-inspired titles, you know. I was like, whatever. But it kind of grew on me a little bit, actually. I kind of like it, and I love the effect that this has where occasionally units you blow up, you'll see the pilots fall out of them, and if there's a ground in the level, the pilots will actually fall down and run away, which I find kind of funny. So this has mechanics not unlike a lot of shmups in that you have to take out waves of enemies. Some of the enemies will drop little point bonuses like this, and then you saw those bonus planes that came by. Those are where you get your extra power-ups. So sometimes that can be extra health, sometimes it can be an upgrade to your primary gun, you know, things of that nature. It will only drop health if you need health, which is nice. So on the lower difficulties, you can take a few hits before you die. On the highest difficulty, you can only take one. The interesting thing about this is that if you do end up getting downed and you're higher up on the screen, you actually have the ability to mash your trigger quickly enough to recover with a low amount of health. And I think you have a limited number of times that you can do that, but it allows you to recover your ship and potentially save your character's life there, which is kind of neat. So you're going to be chewing through levels like this. I have a very high-end weapon here unlocked on the lowest difficulty, so that's why I'm kind of just shredding through this without much effort. So it definitely can get harder than this, especially if you... There are some specialized weapons in this that are really designed for short range. There's a shotgun weapon in this that's exceedingly powerful, but you got to get basically right up in an enemy's face in order to hit them. So there's a lot of different strategies that you can use to play this and to approach it in different ways that can make things more rewarding but also more challenging for yourself as well, which is kind of nice. And as I said before, the levels have different star ratings in them, and those star ratings are essentially tied, well, it doesn't really break it down, but from what I can tell, it's tied to a combination of how many lives you lost, how many enemies you've taken out in the total of the level, and I'm not sure if it's related to how much damage you've taken or not. That's hard to say. But there's a star rating based on that. You want to try to get it as high as you can, and the more stars that you accumulate over the course of your multiple saves, the more weapons you unlock. So that's kind of your incentive to play the levels over again. There is also, as you're seeing along the bottom there is also a speedrun mode in this, and this seems to have been very heavily ingrained into the DNA of this game, and it's kind of cool because, you know, speedrunning, shmups are usually more about either perfect runs or high scores rather than times, right? So incorporating a time-based speedrun mode is kind of a cool idea, and after we complete this level here, I'm going to show you how that works, because I thought it was quite clever, actually. So when you're playing when you're playing through the campaign, you'll see that it shows you the time you spent on the level as well as your speedrun total of the entire map or the entire run of your save, right, that you're doing. Well, what you can do is, if you want to try to go for better speedrun times, is that there is a modifier that you can put on it when you're starting a new game. And what this does, as you can see here, the game speed increases with every enemy you destroy, and it decreases when you take damage. So the longer you're able to go without taking any damage, the faster the game moves and the faster your clear time will be. And there is an actual speedrun, like, separate leaderboard in here that sort of shows you your various runs that you've done and your cumulative speed run through a particular save, which is quite an interesting concept, actually. So actually, you know what? Let me back. This is the level I showed you before, so let me back out of here and show you a different one. But this is kind of a cool idea, because it encourages you to not only get better at the levels, but to get better at playing them through faster. So you're going to see here, watch. So you can see there along the bottom, as I kill more enemies, the speedrun timer is slowly ramping up. And this level will get faster and faster and faster the more enemies I take out. And to the point where it gets very, very frantic, actually. And I think this is a really neat mechanic and a really neat way to integrate something a little bit different to add to the challenge. This is, I think, one of the things that does make this game stand out from the perspective of a fan of the shmup genre. You know, if you're someone who's really into shmups, particularly really complicated ones, you might look at this and go, this looks pretty casual, this looks pretty simple, and I don't really care. But it has that for people who just want, you know, to shoot some planes and sort of be done with it. But for those who want something a little bit more challenging and want something to justify a purchase of this because they'll get more time out of it, then this is the way to do that. You know, if you want to do speedrun mode on the highest difficulty, you're going to have to practice, and practice a lot. You know, there's all the stars available if you want to unlock all the extra weapons. And some of these weapons, like some of them that require basically doing, like one of them requires like 100+ stars, I think, but it looks like it's more or less a god laser that you get. So it's kind of rewarding you, right? And as you can see, the bosses in this are fairly inventive. They're all very different. They all have their own unique kind of different mechanics to them. Oh, geez, I got hosed there. And their own different strategies that you have to employ to take them out. Things like that. It's got some... It's very much got some cool ideas in this, and this isn't just a cheap attempt to cash grab on a mobile game by a developer who went, hey, let's just make a shmup out of it. This is made by people who do understand shmup design and what makes those more interesting, I think. It doesn't feel like something that was just thrown together very quick. It feels like it was made by people who do have a bit of a passion for this stuff. Which is cool. You know, it surprised me in that way. There are, however, a couple of bit of baffling omissions in this, in my opinion. So, I didn't put my camera in the right place, so my face is over top of it. But you can see here at the bottom of my character, it has all these different statistics, and it has a scoring system. However, for all the effort that they put into this speedrun system, which again I think is pretty cool, they built a scoring system in this, but the game has no high scores in it at all. There's no leaderboards, either local or online. There's nothing. Like you can earn scores, and you know, all the enemies have point values to them, and you can pick up all of these extra medals that give you extra points and everything. It's a full scoring system that definitely had some work put into it. But why have a scoring system if you have no way to track it, even for your own use, right? Like, I pretty much think all shmups by law should have to have online leaderboards these days. But even if you don't have those, at least local leaderboards, they're not terribly hard to implement, especially when you put in the effort into actually making the scoring system. And you know, it gives a reason to really fight for scores and to get really clutch runs. But there's just no point to it in this. There's just no real tracking of the scoring at all. And it just seems very odd to me. I don't know why they would go like 2/3 of the way on the effort and then just stop at the last third. It's very strange. I'd love to know their reasoning behind that, but it seems that what they really want you to focus on is the speedrun mechanic. And that's cool, but then if you're not going to bother putting in leaderboards for scores, why bother putting in the time to making the scores? I don't know. It's odd. It's very odd to me. But yeah, this is a game that surprised me. You know, I saw it was a shmup, and I was just like, okay, I just want to try this out. But when I looked at screenshots and I sort of messed around with it a little bit more, I was like, I don't know. This seems like something that would have been better suited to, you know, mobile phones. Hey, there we go. So I got myself a new weapon there, because I got 3 stars there. So here we go. So we got something else, right? We've got... Okay, that actually looks kind of neat. I might have to try that out. And it's something that I thought was kind of casual and kind of... I was just like, yeah, I don't really know. This feels more like a mobile game, and I don't know how interesting this is going to be. But it surprised me. I think it's actually... I think they've actually done some cool things with it. And the levels are all relatively short. Like I said, this campaign is not going to take you long to get through. Oh, it didn't keep my weapon unlocks there. This campaign will not take you long to get through. If you are more of a one-and-done person who wants to, you know, go through a shmup, see all the levels, and be done with it, then this is probably not going to be for you. You're probably going to find this a little too short and a little too simple for the money. But if you're someone who does really like learning all the intricacies of a shmup, and oh wow, okay, so this thing is really short, but it wrecks fools. Okay, that's pretty neat, yeah. I don't know, for my style of play, I tend to prefer guns that are less powerful and shoot faster, so this is probably not for me, but again, another cool option, right? Another cool way to play the game. The weapons in this are all very different, and they really mix up the way you have to approach levels, which I think is cool. And they all seem reasonably well balanced. I'm certain there are some that are better than others. That's just not unusual, frankly, in any respect. But yeah, so there's neat stuff to this, and a shmup that has inbuilt tools for speedrunners, really cool. We don't see that all the time. I think that opens up a new vector of competition. But yeah, no ability to compare online, no ability to see replays for other people's speedruns, and a scoring system with no competitive element to it just seems like a wasted opportunity for me. So it'd be nice to see something like that to getting implemented, but yeah, overall this is fun. You know, it's been enjoyable. The 90 minutes when I did the campaign on my own self, the 90 minutes kind of blew by, and because in the good way, in that I was kind of enjoying myself and being like, yeah, this is fun. I'm liking this. So yeah, as a shmup fan, I do enjoy it. There's a few things I wish it had more of, but in general, I think it's pretty good, and it's definitely worth checking out. And if you're someone who's into speedrunning, you know, this is something that you could pick up and try, or even if you're new to speedrunning, this is something that you could pick up and get into relatively quick and sort of understand, you know, what the thrill of speedrunning is, and the way people sort of tune things and tune their runs to be able to really maximize those. Speedrunning is one of those things that I think is super cool, but I just don't have the patience for. But this could be a very good entry point for that, because it's not a very long game, and it's one that you can practice at without a huge amount of time investment, which makes things interesting. So yeah, that is Dogfight, a sausage bomber story. It's out now pretty much everywhere. Yeah, it's cool. Maybe not for the most hardcore of shmup fans, but it's got cool stuff going on, and it you know, I started off thinking I wouldn't like it very much, and it turned me around, so that's always a nice thing. So thanks for watching, everybody. I do appreciate it. If you liked what you saw here, please do all the normal YouTube things. You know what they are. They do help the channel out a lot. And yeah, leave a comment down below. Tell me, does this interest you? You know, are there other shmups out there that you've tried where you went into it going, this isn't really for me, but then ended up really enjoying it in the end? I'd love to hear about those, because those kinds of things are always interesting to me. And as always, you can follow me over at twitch.tv/pxabstraction for multiple variety streams a week. I cover other indie games over there, as well as retro stuff, including a lot of things that are better suited to streaming than YouTube. We have a great community there, and I would love to see you be a part of it. Thanks again all, and I'll see you on the next Indie Ramble. You folks have yourselves a good one. Take her easy.